Hey everyone, Mark here, Mark P. Markets. Thanks for joining me for another Greenbridge Investing Market Analysis. Let me just adjust my microphone. Thank you all for joining me today. Cool, we got quite a few things to go over. I see all the regulars. Just a quick hello, Elizabeth and HS, Schwartz, International Man of Mystery. All right, Eligius, Bart, mucho gusto, no, not mucho, como estás? Peter, okay, cool. Hey, everyone, thanks for stopping by. So if you're new to the stream and you're not sure how this works, please share your symbol or your stock in the chat now, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the Bitcoin situation. And once I complete that analysis, then I will go over your questions. If you have an altcoin that you'd like to see, please make sure to put USD or USDT after the coin. I have to emphasize that because people still put some symbol and then I spend 3 hours on the wrong symbol. So please make sure to do that if you have an altcoin that you'd like to see. All right, so with that said, let's get this thing started. So this is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. All right, so Bitcoin, interesting. For those that read my analysis on TradingView the other day, what was I saying on there? Look at the blue box. This box was on my chart when I published it on Sunday. Okay, so here we are. We are at a support level. What I warned everyone about this was if 62K is taken out, 62K was the weekly low. And it was a pin bar on the weekly chart. Let me show you real quick, right? This was the weekly low over here. Let me just draw a little line there. And I warned everyone about that. And I said, if we take that out, 57K is on the table, okay? I don't know what all these other fake gurus are doing, but that was a pretty serious level. And that's why even though this bullish pin bar appeared yesterday, I had no interest because the bearish pin bar, okay, on the weekly. I know that carries more weight, okay? So why am I going to take a bullish reversal when a bigger picture sell signal is in play, all right? Now, that brings us to where we are now, and this is a notable support level. As you can see, it bounced off previously, right? Back in, what was that, early November, I guess. Yeah, right there, early November, you see that? So we are at a level of interest. Now, what we need to do here, though, is can't step in front of this. You're going to have a lot of people saying all kinds of things. The funny thing that I just have to throw out there is at the height of this, okay, here comes the rant. At the height of this, the YouTube videos were just nonsensical, right? It'd be nice if there was a way to, like when a YouTube title comes out, to like tag it to these levels, because the stuff that I was looking at, I wouldn't even watch the video. Just the titles were saying things like Bitcoin is going to, I think I've mentioned it before, Bitcoin's going parabolic and all that other stuff. Yeah, parabolic lower, okay, not higher. People have to be pissed. People have to be upset. I mean, if you don't know any better and you got fooled by one of these guys, they can just delete the comments if you write a complaint, of course, but people have to be pissed, all right? I mean, because, come on, all this nonsense, and this is where it goes, right? Anyway, all right, that's my first rant. Now, so what do we do from here? Well, we're at the level, so we're looking for longs. Everything says support, right? Now, there's no guarantee that this support holds, so that's why you have to wait for confirmation. That's the next step. Confirmation can come in a number of forms. Now, if we get the inside bar here, or we get the pin bar here over the next couple of days, that would be somewhat aggressive because we have some steep momentum. But it's still feasible because this is a double bottom. Okay, it's not just out of nowhere pulling back. We're pulling back into an area where buying activity has appeared previously and pretty recently, right? So it's still a worthwhile effort. Now, a more ideal situation, of course, would be a little mini double bottom situation that develops inside of here, all right? Which we get those. We get those sometimes. In fact, we had one back in October, right? This situation back here. I mean, you get something like that, maybe a little smaller than that, but something like that would be ideal because you're getting like basically like a compound double bottom, right? Double bottom on top of a little mini double bottom. That means there's buying activity there, right? You get the reversal off of that. That's like an ideal setup. So that's what I will be looking for. Now you have to keep in mind it's so important to wait for those, right? Whether you take the initial leg, because keep in mind if we get the inside bar and it runs a bit and then turns around, that's where we can get the second double bottom. So you have to decide if you want to take that initial leg, and then you have to be willing to take that risk. Risk is going to be probably about 3,000 or 4,000 points. That's been the typical risk in this thing. So those are the buying scenarios and setups that I am keeping an eye out for over the next few days in Bitcoin. And I'm going to suspect that a lot of altcoins are going to do something similar. Now, here's the thing, and a lot of people are going to make this mistake. They're going to jump into this thing now, right? They're going to say, oh, you know, it's at support, I'm just going to buy it. And the thing is, this candle is still open. We took out that weekly support, that weekly number that I talked about, and this momentum, it can continue. If it continues, we're looking at 51K, okay? Something like that. Here, this area right in here. Someone had asked a question in my previous stream, and I didn't see it until after I turned the stream off. But they were asking, like, what's the difference between like 51K and 53K, whatever? There really isn't any. It's just basically an area, okay? You can even round it to 50K. Somewhere between 49 and like 52 or 53, it's a zone. And if price gets into that zone, that's the next support area. So if it clears this, meaning you see 55K and we have a strong red candle, like it's a pretty steep candle and it's closing weak, there's no reason to get into this thing as far as swing trades go. Now, as far as position trades or inventory, this is an opportunity. Inventory, like I always talk about, position trades isn't really about timing. It's really about sizing. And you have a pullback here. So usually what I like to tell people, as many of you know because you're all regulars here, you want to pick like a day of the month and you want to make your purchase, and then you have like a total allocation that you're going to invest at some point, and over some period of time you're going to make your little mini purchases until you meet that objective, right? Now, in a situation like this, I mean, it's a pullback and it's a lower price. It's much better than buying up in here. So that's why I was telling people, when people ask me, because they get frustrated when they see stuff like this, right? When they see a green candle like this breaking out and the whole world is having a party where it looks like that, you know, and everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm rich, everyone's rich, I'm buying a Lamborghini tomorrow, and all that other stuff. And then I get like frustrated messages. How come we're not in this? How come we're missing out? This thing's going to 100,000. No, it's not. Okay? So my point is this. Instead of taking bites up at highs, which theoretically you can do, like I always say, skew smaller. So if you were buying up at those highs, buying that breakout, if your typical allotment was $100, all right, hopefully you bought $50, right? Now if it does this to you, you're like, oh, who cares? I only have $50 in this thing, so what? Okay, and now you can buy $150, right? Because your typical allotment is 100. You never bought that other 50 up in here, so now you can buy it at a better price. So that's how you can skew your position sizing to get a better average price. You want to be weighted, of course, at lower prices. Now, and if this thing gets hammered, you wait it out for a little while, or you wait until your next purchase day, and that takes charts out of the equation completely. So if you want to use charts, right, then you can skew it like that. If you're at highs, skew smaller. If you're at lows or like support, something like this, skew slightly larger. But don't go in like with the whole, as you know, the whole allocation at one price. That's a very common beginner mistake. Oh, I'm going to invest $5,000 all at one price. Okay, so, and we all, look, I know I'm doing my making fun of people voice, but we all have to go through that at some point, right? But the sooner you can get that out of your system, the better. Anyway, so all the bearish stuff that's going to be coming out right now, because you're going to see some bearish stuff. They're going to double top, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure, you can make those arguments, but we haven't taken out the support yet. And there's still plenty of other supports. And this broader picture is still generally bullish, okay? It needs to take out a lot of supports to really start getting bearish. So I wouldn't be bearish on this thing, not on the swing trade time frame. Day trade, different story, but not going to talk about that here. All right, so that's my Bitcoin analysis. And these setups that I'm talking about here, man, I'm talking 10 minutes. These setups are basically, I'm looking out over the next few days, okay, going into early next week. So that's what you want to keep an eye out for. All right, so let me start jumping into the questions. Now, if you'd like to see the S&P and the NASDAQ and the bonds and gold and all that other stuff that I used to cover, mention it in the chat, and I'll be happy to go over those markets. All right, otherwise, I want to spend more time on your questions. Okay, so let's begin here with Elizabeth. Hey, Elizabeth, nice trade. Okay, waiting for good ETH swing. Sure, so let's take a look at Ethereum. Elizabeth, I wanted to ask you a question. And again, you don't have to provide like a ton of detail, but the trade that you took on this Ethereum, can you just put in the chat what price you got in at, what your average exit was, and can you tell us what your reason was for getting into this trade to begin with? Because you had a great exit, you know, and you locked in, you did all the right things, okay? You locked in profits along the way. You weren't sitting there thinking this thing's going to 10K, like everyone on YouTube was saying. It was definitely going to 10K, and I guess not, okay? When you see that overly optimistic, I mean, it was out of control. One video after another. You heard me ranting over the previous few weeks. One video after another, You're going to make millions, billions, and trillions you're going to make if you buy this coin now. I mean, when you see that over and over, like, are these people out of their minds? Millions and billions? So when you see that, and like I said, if you go watch my videos, go watch a week before, go watch a week before that. They're all on YouTube here, right? What was I saying? I was saying that there's no way, right? These people are out of their mind. And when you see that, it's often a sign of a top. Now, when that was going on, the million and billion and trillion dollar talk, this was what was going on here in the market, right? But if these guys are so clever, or they're so whatever, they're such authorities, how come no one talked about this? Right? Anyway, okay, that's rant number 2. All right, so yeah, so Elizabeth, you want to put that in the chat? I just think that would be helpful for people here, just to get some perspective. I always like to get feedback and hear from how people take trades. So anyway, to answer your question as far as Ethereum goes, now obviously it's following the leader. Okay, fine, it's back to follow the leader, no problem. We have the 4,500. What is that? Is that about 4,500? No, I'm sorry, 38. So basically, the $4,000 support. Okay, we're there basically right now. The price right now is 40.46. So we're fooling around in the area right now, just like Bitcoin, right? What a coincidence, as Seinfeld would say. Okay, Bitcoin pulls back to a significant support. So does Ethereum. So this is a place, again, everything that I talked about with Bitcoin, it's the same idea here. You want to be looking for potential long, because this is definitely the location, right? First support should be around here. You wait for confirmation and see where it goes. Now, confirmation may look something like this, right? Something like this back here, where it pops up a bit and gives you that double bottom, just like I described in Bitcoin. So same idea, all right? This is why, again, I pay no attention to news. I don't know why these things are selling off. I don't care. I'm only interested in structures and levels, and Fibonacci levels and wave counts and candles. That gives me all the information that I need to know. Okay? Now, again, I'm anticipating. I'm ahead of the market. This thing may reverse here. I think there's a good probability. I can't give you an exact number, but I would say there's probably more than 50% here, okay? 51, maybe even 60% probability that this thing tries to reverse. The reversal hasn't even begun yet, but it's possible. Now, again, in these situations, You have to let the market prove itself, right? If this next candle opens, that's why it's so important to wait for the closes, right? Next candle opens, maybe starts out a little green and then gives you this. That's not what you should see. That's not a reversal, right? And it closes like that. So you have to give it the whole day, let it do its thing. Even if you get a bullish pin bar midday, because sometimes in the middle of the day you may have a bullish pin bar right there. Like, oh yeah, there it is. And then a few hours go by and it's gone. So wait for those closes, number one. That's a very important thing. So that's support number one. If that's cleared, you know, you're looking at basically whatever coincides with Bitcoin at those low 50s, that's probably going to be around this area here, which is around, what, 33? So maybe mid to lower 30s, or I should say 3,000 area. So 3,000 to 3,300 area, that's your second support, right? Those are the levels that you should be prepared for. And you really shouldn't get mixed up with anything else. If you're looking for longs in these things and you're considering swing trades, because you shouldn't be shorting these things, not on the swing trade level. Those are the levels to be watching for as far as setups go. I mean, look at this chart. The chart is generally strong so far. We're just getting a normal, healthy pullback. This is what markets do. They pull back, okay? So I hope that answers your question there, Elizabeth. All right, so let's go back. HS, hey, okay, good to see you. Schwartz, hugs from, of course, my international man of mystery. Yeah, bad in the market. Well, yeah, I mean, not the stock market though, right? Look at the stock market. New all-time highs in the NASDAQ. What a surprise. But yeah, Bitcoin got hammered for whatever reason. What do you think? What do you think? Sell alts at a loss and wait to buy them cheaper? Okay, so wait for 53K Bitcoin. Okay, now hold on. So as far as load up, you don't want to load up. You want to, it's either you're taking a swing trade, which means you're going to have a fixed amount, right? You're going to have your particular, like 1% of your account or 2% of your account. That's a fixed amount. It's going to have a fixed stop, and it's going to have a target or a series of targets, which gives you an average profit, right? That's a swing trade. So that's not, you know, you're not buying some outsized amount. As far as position trading, like I just said before, yeah, this is, if it breaks lower, certainly a time to skew larger positions proportional to what your full amount is going to be, right? Like I explained before. Now, as far as other altcoins, let's take a look at, let's look around, right? Litecoin, what else is new? Let's take a look at something, let's take a look at some of the hype coins, right? Let's see hype. Oh, SHIB isn't getting as beat up as I thought SHIB would be, like going to zero by now. Okay, all right. Let's see what else is going on. What's another one that is very popular? XRP. Let's take a look. Well, so to answer your question, Shorts, I don't, these things aren't really, if you were in swing trades, you should be out of the swing trades, okay? Like, there are lots of warning signs as far as swing trades go, lots of warning signs. So, you know, let's take a look at DOT real quick, right? That was another one, DOT, all-time highs, blah, 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 and no. So there are plenty of warnings to get out. So as far as taking the loss now you're at the support on all of these things, right? Look at DOT, for example. You're at the support level, right? You're sitting right there. So if anything, this would be a time to be thinking to be buying, right? And now you're thinking of getting out. That's what happens when you buy bad prices. That's what happens when you chase highs, like I keep telling people not to do. Don't buy highs. Now we're at the price where people bang out because it looks bad, and this is the time to be thinking, all right? Not buying, but thinking, okay, I'm waiting for my long setup, okay? Now, so to answer your question, it depends on your situation, like how many alts you got and how bad they are, but one thing to consider is maybe lighten up. Don't take the full loss. I mean, hopefully you're not overly exposed, but just keep in mind you're selling at a support. Now, of course, it's possible that these things break lower, and by selling some, you're going to be reducing your exposure. But if they turn and we get the buy signal over the next few days, you can maybe buy that, whatever you get out and take the loss on, you can buy it back. I mean, something to consider. But this is why it's so important to really be specific about why you're getting into the market before you get in. Like, is it a swing trade? You should be able to answer a series of questions. Is this a position trade? And it should all be laid out so that if this happens, you're not stuck in this, wondering, what should I do? Because if this gets worse, like if this holds, everyone will be fine, okay? And look, like for Bitcoin, go back to Bitcoin. If the support holds, yeah, and we get the next leg higher, everyone will be happy. Oh, everything is okay, blah, blah, blah. And if it doesn't make that new high, watch out, because we could have a head and shoulders at that point, and that would give you an opportunity to reduce your exposure. But if hope mode doesn't work out, and I always talk about how it's not a strategy, and we break these supports, there's going to be a lot of people banging out of their positions and all that kind of stuff. So the loss will be much more dramatic. And at that point, you're at the mercy of the market, right? And you don't want to be in that position. So I hope that answers your question. That's why I think at this point, you know, you have to decide how much more you can lose, or maybe start lightening up, reducing your position somewhat, so that if it goes lower, you're not stuck in that whole thing, okay? But only you could figure that out. Anyway, so good question. Thanks for asking. Eligius, gold and copper, sure. So whenever someone asks gold, the first thing I want to look for is the US dollar, right? What's going on with the dollar? Because the dollar's turned into an altcoin, right? Look at that. So look at this recent price action. Bearish pin bar, sell signal. Now, something like this on the dollar, I would not be bearish on that. Yes, it's a sell signal, but this trend is not bearish. So I would be looking for a pullback on the dollar, right? The dollar can reasonably pull back to this price here, 94.5, and that would be the place to be looking for longs, right, in the dollar. Now, so what does that mean? Forex pairs, right? That would be the place you're looking for shorting the pound, shorting the euro, that kind of stuff, right? So with that being said, let's take a look at gold. Because gold has been out of control for whatever reason. And usually these two, the dollar and gold, is supposed to have an inverse relationship, not one where they move together. That's why I'm very suspect of gold. Of course, when gold makes a move like this, just like in the altcoin space, all the gold experts come out, all the big mouths, I've been in gold for 30 years. All those guys come out, and they all start saying gold is going to go to 5,000 and blah, 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 blah. We're going to have hyperinflation. We're going to be wheelbarrowing our money around, all that nonsense, okay? Meanwhile, gold is having a hard time here a little bit, right? So let's look at the level. I've talked about this level before and why I'm suspect of gold. Nice move if you were in from lower prices, and I was not willing to take those chances because I saw the dollar going higher, right? So the dollar kept me out, whatever, no problem. You know, I don't mind missing trades. But look at this area. So this is a resistance, and you're getting like this little failed high situation developing here. So if anything, this is not a bad place to be locking in profits if you have some paper gold or whatever, right? It doesn't hurt to take something off the table. I know that with physical, it's a really long-term type of thing, so you're really not getting in and out of physical gold. I understand that, but this price would certainly be a place to reduce some exposure or lock in some profits after such a ridiculous move, especially against or in the face of the dollar. So if the dollar continues to rally and maintains that bullish trend, gold is in a position to pull back. Now, I'd be willing to give gold a chance if it gets back to its old resistance area, which is this area here. Here, what is that, like the 1820s, that area right there? What is that, around 1834, right? So between 1830, 1820, that area, I would be interested in a swing trade there. I'd be willing to give gold a chance at that price, okay? As far as a new long idea, but that's it. Otherwise, I'm not very interested. And if the dollar continues the way it's going, I mean, if that thing reverses and starts working its way higher, I'll probably avoid gold altogether because I just don't trust gold, especially if on a swing trade. If you're on a smaller time frame, then you can make adjustments and all that kind of stuff quicker, and you're paying more attention. But on the swing trade, it's just not worth all the attention and all the effort that you have to keep an eye on this thing while the dollar is working against you. It's just there are better trades out there, I think, easier ones. Okay, so anyway, now that's gold. Now you want to compare that to copper, which is what, HG. Let's see, is there a copper? I'm sure there's a copper CFD. Let's see, HG, what would that be? Do I have a CFD here? Copper. I have HG X USD or something like that. Let's see, HG USD. No, all right. All right, I'll just pull the futures up. It's the same chart anyway. It's the same chart. Okay, so let's pull up HG front month. And so compared to gold, now copper, theoretically, right, copper is a metal, so copper should act in a similar way to gold, but it's not. I think copper in this situation is more of a political metal. It's political because of all that infrastructure nonsense and all the other inflationary nonsense that's coming out of this country. So copper is going to be viewed as like a material used for construction and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's going to be more reactive to that and less in line with gold, because gold, we can argue that is a store of value. Copper is not a store of value. Copper is an industrial metal, right? So for those reasons, I think it's going to act more in line with how it should versus the dollar. And that's what it looks like here, okay? Dollar had that rally, copper pulled back, dollar's pulling back a bit. We have an inside bar to go long on copper. That's what's going on right now. So here's the thing with copper. I mean, if you're watching the CFD or whatever it is that you're watching on something like this thing's clearly range bound, right? But the bigger picture is bullish. Look at that bigger picture. Wow. Higher lows and higher highs all over the place, right? And then recent price action or short-term price action is consolidation, range bound. Now, so in this type of situation, you're near the range low. So you can either look for this inside bar, right? Take the high of that inside bar, $4.32 is the high. Okay, that would be your long signal, and your stop would go below the low. Now, this is tricky though, because that's not at the range low. It's not here. Okay, so it has some room to fool around a bit. Now, you have a lower high right behind you here, but I wouldn't worry too much about the lower high because this is not a bearish trend. It's a consolidation. So that's not going to carry much weight. So the only thing is, if this thing is going to be noisy, you may get some price action into this area here. So that's what you have to watch out for. Something like this, if you take copper long and it stops you out, make sure to take that stop. Take the loss. And then wait for the thing to stabilize. If it stabilizes in this area, then that's really where your high probability is. But sometimes, people start buying early and whatever, and maybe this is it. Maybe this is the range low, and maybe it works its way back to the range high. So I think it's attractive for a swing trade because look at your reward risk, right? 432 is the high, so you're getting in around maybe 440, something like that. Give it a little room. The low is what, 420. So maybe 415. So you're looking at, what is that, a good 15 cents or whatever, maybe 20 cents worth of risk. And this thing can reasonably get back up into this part of the range. Maybe not the range high, maybe not all the way up here, but you can probably get something like this, which is 462. So that's a good, from here, what is that? It's a good 30 cents, almost, yeah, about 30 cents. So risking about 15 to make 30, that makes sense. All right, so that's what you have to watch for on something like that. I wouldn't get too caught up with the whole gold thing. This is more of a function of the dollar, okay? So I hope that answers your question, and thanks for asking about copper. All right, so let's see what else we got here. All right, Bart, okay, what do you think is the most likely Bitcoin bottom on this broader move? All right. So I explained that earlier with the Bitcoin. So I don't think I have to explain that again. I mean, we're at one potential bottom, 57K is one of them, and then 51K, or that lower 50K area, is the second one. Those are the two areas. And if those are cleared, if 50K is cleared, then there's something else going on, right? And that's where we just want to step aside. Great for averaging in, but not good for swing trades, because if that type of momentum persists. Now, again, it's wise to keep an eye on the weekly chart in these situations. And I was warning people, you all know, because you hear me ranting every week. I was warning people about this and saying, watch out, failed high on the weekly. And this is on top of all that. I also warned about this three-legged structure, okay? Three-legged structure, this is not an impulse wave. Actually, it still could be an impulse wave if this leg, this pullback, can stay above this high over here. I guess that would be wave one. Yeah, I guess that would be the wave one, right, of 5. So Elliott wave can be tricky and subjective, but if it overlaps, if price gets back into this area right here, then that proves one thing, that this leg is not an impulse wave, which means we're still in the broad consolidation. And all those fake gurus that said we were going to 100,000 by next week, they'll all be wrong, okay? And then they're all going to have to oh, well, the market's random. Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? Yeah. Anyway, watch my next video. Okay, so, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. So, Peter, you pointed out that Bitcoin level was very risky, and I sold Cardano, okay? And that was a good move. Okay, cool. Good move, Peter. So I would like to know about Cardano. All right, so let's take a look. All right, I know Cardano. Now, considering that move in Bitcoin, Cardano, I've been warning about Cardano because it's been acting relatively weak, okay? Now, in this situation, I'd be expecting Cardano to be clearing this support, and it's not. So that is a sign of relative strength now, right? While Bitcoin is getting hammered, you would think that this thing would be getting hammered more. So it's not. All right, so your first support is around this 190 area, right? That's your range low, and it's tested and it's broken it somewhat, but look at the candle we're getting right now. That's a bullish pin bar, right? So that's actually a buy. It's a buy signal in the process of developing. If we take out the high, the candle high is 190, just over 190. That would be a new buy signal in a location that is very attractive. This is where you should be buying for a swing trade, not up here, which is where everyone buys. Okay, I warned and warned and warned. Now, for those who've been patient, this is the level. All right, just like Bitcoin. When you wait, eventually those levels come along. And that's where you have to have your plan in place, and you have to be prepared to move. Now, the thing is, you have to wait for the confirmation. This candle is still open, but if it closes like this, it could change by the time it closes, but if it closes like this and the next candle takes out the candle high, you have your buy signal. Now, whether it follows through or not is a different story. So, but your signal will be there, and you'll be able to measure risk in a very precise way. The risk would be measured at this low 170. So your stop would have to go slightly below that. Now, keep in mind, Bitcoin will have to reverse. If it doesn't reverse, and this thing tries to reverse, and Bitcoin goes lower, then this thing's probably going to give you a hard time. Just keep that in mind, okay? These things aren't perfect. But as far as probability goes, this is the location that you should be paying attention. And if you're willing to take a chance, this is the place to do it. All right, and again, I'm talking from the swing trade perspective, if that's what you're talking about. So I hope that helps. Definitely, and it is an intergalactic or parabolic move. Yeah, there are plenty of other fake gurus that you can go watch that I'm sure will tell you that this is going to be 10x'd by next week. In fact, Cardano was one of the ones that they were saying 50x by December. Yeah, I don't know. We got a little ways to go there before we get 50x. Anyway, yeah, so I would refer you to one of those guys. There's thousands of them, so you have no problem finding one. Anyway, good question. Hey, Peter. Okay, so and he asked here, one more. I want to subscribe. Oh, so Peter, yeah, just for the Bitcoin payment thing, we just charge that lower price. So you could just send the lower price. I know it's a little confusing, but I mean, I would prefer that you use PayPal or something. It's just easier all around. But if you must use Bitcoin, it's the lower price. Okay, so good question. And thank you for your support and your interest. Hey, Travel. Okay, from Rome. Buongiorno. Okay, Alex. Hey, good to see you. Farhat. Okay, cool. Thank you. Can you check XRP? Sure. Sure. Let's take a look. XRP USDT. Yeah, so not surprising, many of these things are pulling back. Now, XRP, look at the line on my chart, right? I had this line, we probably went over this here, and I left the line on the chart, resistance. Now, what was going on at the time, though? I want you to learn from this, right? This is what it looked like at the time. And people ask me, right? That's why that line is there, because people ask me, is this a long? Should I buy it? Should I buy it? And well, look what you're buying into. You're buying into resistance. Why would you do that? Well, because, everyone's buying it. Well, that's what the risk you're taking. Okay? You see that? So next time these things are fooling around with these resistance levels, remember, keep this in mind. Resistance levels, you're taking a lot of risk, especially when Bitcoin and Ethereum were making all-time highs and this thing was not. Okay? So anyway, now here we are, pull back. So these are the levels now where you should be interested. Okay? These are the levels where things can, where if you're going to take risk, just like that Cardano chart, now you're at support levels. Okay? We're not at resistance levels anymore. We're now at support levels. That's what you want to see. Support levels. And we don't have any buy signal. So, I mean, let's just look at the bigger picture here, because this thing has been kind of a pain. It's been consolidating, and one concern is this whole section right here is a lower high. So if Bitcoin has one more bounce and tries to go higher, because remember that Bitcoin chart is not exactly showing us the best structure on the weekly. And if that's a broad consolidation, then Bitcoin has a lot more to pull back. Hasn't proven anything yet, but if it starts breaking those supports, then I'm going to go with the idea that we're in that broad consolidation. We're not in the bullish trend, all right? Which means 100,000 is not happening anytime soon, and none of you are going to be millionaires by next week. So if that's the case, again, consolidation just means we're looking at the middle of the range. And these things, in that scenario, I suspect that these coins like this one, are going to break these supports, okay? Like this support over here, they're going to break because that's their range low, and you don't want to be caught in that, right? That's what you have to watch out for. Put that in your notes. You don't want to get caught in that. So as far as right now, though, we're pulling back to some support levels, so this would be a time to consider taking the risk, or being open to the buy signal if it shows up. So that's what you do here. You wait for the buy signal. You're at a level. This is one level, just like Bitcoin is at one level. You have an outside bar at the moment. So this is where candlesticks come in to be very, very valuable. Candlesticks and chart patterns. This is a bearish outside bar. That's not a good candle to be buying into, right? You have the double bottom area right here. So what is that price? 94 cents, around there, 94 cents. So you see if price can fool around into that area. Price right now is what, $1.05? So that's a good 10-cent range, right? You may get slightly better than $1.05 in this area right here. If you can get the bullish reversal, the bullish pin bar, the inside bar, something like this. Look at this back here. Nice inside bar. That would be your that would be your signal to go long. And your stop would, of course, have to go at the bottom of whatever that formation is. Like, for example, if we look back here and just use this as an example, if it appears to be something like that again, what would the risk have been here if you had taken this inside bar, right? The high is 108. Now, the low of the inside bar is tough. In these situations, especially on these cheaper coins, I think it's better to take the low of the entire formation here. That would be 94 cents. So you're looking at what, 14 cents of risk, something like that? And how far did this thing go? was it able to make 14 cents off of that inside bar, right? So the price again was 108, and this thing went as high as 134. So that's more than 14 cents. Now, of course, we cannot assume you're going to capture you're not going to capture the entire move. That's unrealistic. But if you're getting at least what you risked, right, 1-to-1, or maybe slightly more than 1-to-1, maybe 1.5-to-1, that's realistic. So you had that kind of move here, right? At least 1-to-1 in this situation. That's why it's so important. I tell people all the time, when they start looking stupid like this, when they look like that and everyone's hyping them and blah, 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 and you have more than 1-to-1 reward risk, what do I tell people? Take something off the table. I don't care if it looks like it's going to $10 tomorrow. Take something off the table, because this is what's likely to come next. I've seen this many, many times. It's not all the time. Sometimes they get really stupid, like SHIB, but more often than not, you're facing this. So it's a good idea that when you're up more than what you risked, just get in the habit. Take something off. Why don't people take something off the table? You know why? Because of greed. Because they say, well, yeah, this thing's going to go to $2. Why should I sell it now? I'm going to be rich at $2, right? And they hold it, and it doesn't go to $2. Why didn't I sell it? Kramer gave me the wrong advice, right? So that's why you should do that. Anyway, okay, enough of that rant. That's to answer your question about XRP. I hope you find that helpful there. All right, and again, use Bitcoin as your guide, because coins like XRP are not really doing their own thing. I know this thing could be news driven, but use Bitcoin as your guide. Okay. Winter Fresh. Okay, let's take a look. USD, is that USDT? All right, let's see here. Wow, is this real? Is this a real? Is that real? Was the price really that high? I hope that's a bad tick, because if that's real, that's not good. All right, so let's take a look here. I think you've asked about this. I remember we have lines all over the chart, so obviously someone had asked about this. So here's the thing. It's inside the consolidation. It tried to break out, and boy, people were happy to get out of this thing, right? If that's real, if that candle is real. So in this situation, you're right back in the middle of the range. You're right back in the middle. Nothing to do here, okay? I would wait, especially since Bitcoin is showing that weakness. I would wait for a range low, a test of range low. And if this pin bar is real, then there's probably a decent chance that you're going to test this low of $1.90 if this is real. Okay, you take out that low, you get a sell signal, and you're likely to test that, especially if Bitcoin is getting hammered. So I would wait for something like that. If you're not in it and you're looking for longs, I would wait for something like that and look for the reversal there. All right, maybe you get the reversal sooner. If you do, then look for like an inside bar or something in this area here. But you have to be very suspect when you see a candle like this. That's not a good candle. You should not be seeing. If this thing had some news and everyone piled in, and then someone basically just sold it all to them, which is what took place here, if that's real, then there's a lot of people stuck. Okay, is what that means. And this thing is more likely, that momentum is likely to follow through, and you'll see that range low. Possibly even a break of that support. Okay, so something to keep in mind. A lot of these coins, and I've pointed it out all throughout altcoin season, I was pointing out that these things have been acting relatively weak, right? Because Bitcoin and Ethereum were making new highs, and coins like this were not even near their highs. They were trying, but they're struggling. That's a lower high. If you take a look at the weekly chart on something like this, right? Let's take a look at the weekly chart. Take a look at a weekly chart. Always keep an eye on this chart. I mean, look at this. That's not good. You shouldn't see this. So if anything, this is a consolidation. So that's why I keep those range lows in mind. And if that range low breaks, you're looking at this range low over here. Okay, much lower. So just something to keep in mind for something like that. So thanks for asking. That's this one here, okay? So, okay, cool. Hey, Jimmy, long time. Oh, cool. Oh, since 2017. Wow. That's nice. I appreciate that. I have a question. When looking at alts, you usually the USD charts. Do you analyze BTC pairs much? No, I don't. That's a good question. And the reason is I don't like these cross pairs. Now look at Bitcoin bouncing off that support. I don't like these cross pairs, like something against BTC. Like let's take a look, like something like Litecoin, right? Litecoin BTC, because they're really not that useful. I like something, when I look at these coins, I want something stable on the other side so that I could rely on the price structures. Usually when you get these cross pairs, you get a lot of messy price action. It can be all over the place. I mean, you can get support and resistance levels out of this, and they're somewhat similar. You can find some similarities, but why there's just no need for that confusion. So I like to, if I'm looking at any type of pair, I want to see it against a stable coin so that I could make a more fair assessment and not have to deal with all the noise associated with two unstable assets, right? Bitcoin is not exactly stable, and these other garbage coins are not stable either. They're all over the place. So I don't like, I've seen enough of that with some of these Forex pairs. So I want something stable on the other side, right? And that gives me more consistency on the charts. That's the only reason. So, from Ireland. Wow. Okay, cool. Top of the morning to you. That's my Irish accent. I'm not Irish though. All right, cool. I think you're my first guy from Ireland here. Wow, I don't have any Irish guys. All right, cool. Well, welcome. And thanks for mentioning you've been a long time follower. Very nice. Okay. Hey, Kim, I'm very impatient and bought some yesterday at the pin bar. The stop loss, oh, okay. Kim, are you talking about you're talking probably about Bitcoin, that earlier pin bar. Well, look, it's going to happen. I was looking at it, like I said, but what really kept me out of that was just the fact that we broke 62K, and I was like, I'm not, I'm very picky with these things when I see something like that. But hey, look, those things happen, right? It comes with experience. So don't worry about that. If you get another reversal, you get back in, right? Because we are at a support level. And if it can hold, then at least, a leg, the next leg higher, it's within reason to at least get back into the mid to possibly high 60s. I would not anticipate the 100K move and all that other nonsense because I'm just more realistic. Although it is possible if we break that support, but you're going to need a pretty strong catalyst, okay? And if these things go out of favor, which is very possible, right, over the next few months, I suspect we're going to see lower prices in 6 months, but it's just my worthless opinion. It doesn't matter. Market's going to do what it's going to do. So, anything is possible, right? So that's why I don't have any, I don't trade on any opinions like that, especially long-term ones like that. But if this thing reverses here, it is within reason to risk about 4,000 points and at least make 4,000 points, at least, right? 1 to 1. So it's still worthwhile. When these supports break, then it'll be time to step aside as far as swing trades go. So anyway, thanks for mentioning. Hey, Elizabeth, okay, took the free trade idea for Ethereum at 4,200. Okay, I guess from the stream here, sold off 25% at 4,700, 65% at 4,800. Wow, held 10%. Oh, nice. I mean, that's like an ideal trade. In those, to learn from something like that, the most important thing to take away from that is understand why you took that trade, okay? Understand the reason to get in, because that's probably one of the hardest part next to getting out. And I think you handled it very well getting out. You took profits while the profits were available. A lot of people, they just stay in, like I said before, and they think it's going to go to 10,000, and they don't take anything. You gave it a chance, right? You had 1/3 of the position. It wasn't going. You got out, but you had locked in a bulk of your profit earlier, right? So you didn't have to give back a whole lot. And if it broke out and kept going, hey, you still had a piece. That's how you get ahead in this game, not these big home run type moves, which everyone thinks that's normal. I guess because you have all these people on YouTube say, I made 10,000% in 5 days. And you get people like that, so they create these expectations. Anyway, nice trading. Thank you for sharing, because I think, you know, people can learn from that. That's a nice structured swing trade. But again, just in your notes or whatever, just make sure you understood, because the idea is to be able to repeat those same reasons when you see a setup developing again. I mean, every time I take a trade, when I look for these things, I'm getting in for the same reasons, right? Support, we get a reversal, the trend is bullish, all those things, it's the same reasons. And then I see the reversal, I can measure the risk, my reward is potentially much greater than my risk, right? All that, and it's the same thing. I don't really, for swing trades, there's nothing else for me to do. So you want to get in that repetitive, you want to have that repetitive process. When I was learning this stuff, the guy would always say to me, you know, what is your process? And I'd be like, what's that? You know, and he explained to me, you have to have a step-by-step process. And everyone's going to have their own personal steps, that's fine. But make sure that you can repeat the steps, okay? So hey, Ing, Eon, sure, XMR, please. Okay, so I have some time today, I can answer both of those. Let's see, AEON USD. What's going on here? All right, so let's look back a bit. This is on Bittrex, and let's zoom out. So look, these things, you see what I mean with these? Look how much this one was hyped. I mean, man. So let's take a look at the weekly chart. Wow, what a mess this thing is. Look at this thing. Okay, looks like this thing was popular back in 2018 as well. Look at that, but at a much greater magnitude. Look at that, and it went right back to garbage. Tried to come out again, and then right back to garbage. So look, something like this is not a nice clean cut up trend. This is not. Bitcoin has a nice clean cut trend. Ethereum has one. Litecoin has one, right? There are other coins that have this is a mess. These spikes are just, this is not a sustainable, this is not a stable trend. So in something like this, let's just take a look at where it is now. First of all, you have this red candle this week. We still have a few days before the week closes out. But if the low of the candle is taken out, just like in Bitcoin, that's going to be a weekly sell signal, right? Now, this thing recently has not rallied very much relative to everything else, and you're getting sell signals all over the place. So I would not be interested in this one, okay, at all. There are much better charts out there. I mean, Bitcoin and Ethereum alone look much better than this thing. Cardano looks better than this thing. You're at a resistance right here, and it's coming off of it. I wouldn't do anything with this, right? If you're looking for a long, at least wait for this range low. What is that, 38 cents? Perhaps you get a test of that range low. Maybe it holds there. But the way this thing has been behaving, if we get that break in the market where these things go out of favor, I mean, we get that bearish break, this thing is probably going to break that support. Why do I say that? Because look, lower high over here. Okay, you have a lower high up in this area here. Lower highs often lead to lower lows. And this thing has been relatively weak to begin with. So yeah, I don't like this thing at all. Okay, as far as longs go, I would just avoid this one. Much better charts out there than this. So thank you for asking about Aeon. That reminds me of something. Oh, a coin I was looking at the other day. Let me just pull this up real quick before I answer the next question. Now, this is an example of a good-looking chart. Look at this thing, AVAX. Look at this thing. So, I mean, clearly, no ridiculous spike and pullback. This is just higher lows and higher highs and very dramatic. Okay, fine. It's pulling back a bit, but this would be one for the radar. This would definitely be one for the radar, and this would be your support level right here. Okay, anyway, I know you didn't ask about AVAX. I just wanted to throw that in there. And this is a nice example, too, of if people bought this breakout, because, you know, people, they can't resist. They like to buy highs. You get a candle that looks like this after you bought the breakout. It's an inside bar. It's got a long tail on it. That's not follow through, right? You shouldn't see that. Although no supports have been broken on this thing yet, this is certainly a red flag. So if you had like a little profit or something, or get out, take the money, get out, because these things are not performing well overall. Now, we can argue that this thing is relatively strong because Bitcoin is at a significant support level, and this thing hasn't even begun to pull back yet. I mean, we haven't touched the major support level here. So just something to keep in mind. If you get a tight pullback and Bitcoin goes, this might be a good one as far as relative strength goes. Okay, unless something else comes along that changes this thing's structure. Keep in mind, these things look like this, not because they're high quality, it's because they have good marketing. All right, so anyway, let's go to your other one, XMR. XMR USD. Let's see what we got here. XMR, hold on. Is this Monero? Yeah, Monero. All right, so now Monero, let's look back a bit, right? Decent structure long term. Remember the other day I was categorizing the structures long term, mid term, and short term. So long term would be the longest part of the chart here, right? That's generally bullish. Mid term would be basically from that peak to where we are now, all that data in there, and that's range bound. We can see that's pretty easy to see. And short term would be like the recent month, something like that, right? Which is also range bound. And this thing is now testing a significant range low. Not surprising with Bitcoin doing what it's doing. So something like this, now you have to keep in mind, this is arguably a lower high. So if Bitcoin breaks, these things are setting up to break. I wouldn't be in a hurry to buy these. These things should have performed better when Bitcoin was pushing highs. Why wasn't Monero up here at 436? What's the problem? It's relatively weak. So you have to keep that in mind. In theory, if this relative weakness follows through, these supports are more likely to break. So that's why I would not be in a hurry. Be really picky with these ones that are showing this type of situation. You want to wait for like a support. Look, you touched the support yesterday, it looks like, right? You have the inside bar since then. You have two inside bars. So it's possible that you're going to get a buy signal over the next few days, but maybe you want to be a little more picky than that. Maybe you want to wait for like a nice clear double bottom to develop over here or something like that. Maybe you want to wait for Bitcoin to show a solid reversal before getting involved in something like this for a swing trade. Because again, like I said, if Bitcoin breaks, these things are setting up to break and you don't want to be caught. If you take a trade, you get stopped out, you get stopped out, right? Make sure you use stops. I shouldn't have to say that, but some people, they just don't because, these things are tricky. I would have gotten stopped out here and look, it went back up. Yeah, but there will be those times when it breaks and keeps going and you will get into hope mode and you will have a large loss, right? So the stop will protect you from that. In these situations, with these swing trades, if you're going to go for them, you make sure you respect those stops because these things are setting up to break. Okay, I could be wrong, but the charts right now, that's what they're showing. Okay, so ING, thank you for your question. Hey, Adrian. Hey, Sean. Good to see you. All right. Hey, Peter. Okay, so Farhat, if BTC pumps crazy today and Cardano takes out its daily high today, would you enter ADA? All right, so Cardano, yeah, so like I explained, this would turn into a buy signal, right? Because it's setting up. You have the pin bar, you have the location, you have the double bottom. I mean, you have the broader high or low. Do you see how the context fits together? An oscillator is not going to help you see this, right? So if you take out that pin bar high, you have the buy signal. Now, how that thing follows through, though, is a different story. I mean, this thing, as you can see, for quite a number of weeks, this thing has not made much progress, so it may be slow. You're not going to see this thing 50x anytime soon, most likely. So just something to keep in mind. Also, Bitcoin could fake out. If Bitcoin gives the buy signal and all these things give the buy signal and you get in and the next candle turns red and goes right back to the support, then it's probably a fake out. If you want to try to give it a chance, make sure you have that stop. If these things break their supports, then you don't know how much lower they can go at that point. I wouldn't expect something overly dramatic. I mean, the thing is, something like Cardano, I would have thought, based on its relative weakness, that it would be lower than it is. So that is a positive sign. Okay, at least you have that. So that answers, like, I don't particularly trade Cardano, so I wouldn't do anything with this. I'd rather get involved with like Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like that. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Okay, Jimmy, you love my accents. Oh, cool. So I guess my impressions are not so bad after all. All right. Hey, Michelle, good to see you. Okay, Elizabeth, for me that was a home run. It's taken me a year to get a strategy, and you've been, oh, cool. And patience, patience. Right. So, okay, well, I'm glad that worked out for you. You know, again, you just think of it this way. When you miss out, you're not losing anything. Okay, so you could miss the biggest move in the world, you're not losing. And at some point, another opportunity will develop. So if everyone else is buying Lamborghinis and they're all buying big houses and they're all making videos about how much money they made, you can't let that get to you. You know, you go on Instagram and everyone's got 2 Lamborghinis. I see this stuff all the time, and it's just like it's comical almost. Because the funniest part of that whole thing, because it pressures people. I'm just mentioning that because it pressures people. Like, oh man, I'm missing out. All these people are rich, and I'm missing out. I better buy this thing now before I miss the next move. Right? Most of that stuff is fake, number one. Right? Some people don't realize that. Number two, anyone that truly acquires wealth doesn't flaunt it like that. I mean, I don't have to tell you that, but it's just funny how they're showing their Lamborghinis, and the people that I know who actually have like serious money, they don't have any of those things. Anyway, all right. I'm not going to do another Rich Dad, Poor Dad book here. All right, let's talk. So Michelle, XLM, before I get off on another rant and I can't stop myself. All right, XLM. So Stellar Lumens, haven't seen this one in a while. So again, this one looks like it's in a similar situation to XRP, one of those older school ones. Like this was from like Stellar Lumens was like one of the popular ones back in the 2017, 2018 run, right? Now look at this. So the peak on this thing, nice bullish chart up until this point, which is what the high there is 71 cents. Now since then, this thing has not been able to break this resistance. So like these other coins, it's a sign of relative weakness. I don't like to see that. So that would not encourage me. I certainly wouldn't be building inventory in something that looks like this, because, and if I was, it'd be very limited, because this is not how it should be acting. So if you're interested in a swing trade, well, let's look at the levels. You have a minor level where it is now, but it's minor because this is the range low, and you're in the middle of the range. So you need Bitcoin to reverse, right? This thing is showing an outside bar. It looks very similar to Bitcoin. And you need the inside bar to develop, or the pin bar, and you have a level. And if it can go from here, you have to really make sure that your reward risk is worthwhile, because I wouldn't expect much more than this, right? Because it's range bound. And you're going to need some kind of powerful catalyst to really get this thing going. And that catalyst can come from Bitcoin, but Bitcoin just came off of all-time highs, and same with Ethereum. Why is this thing stuck here? Where's all the money, right? Why isn't the money flowing into these things? So that's a big red flag for me. And so there's something to keep in mind. You want to go for like some of these swing trades that come off of this. Just keep that in mind. Keep those limitations in mind. And if they start breaking, like if this support breaks, use this as your point of reference. If that support breaks, I would just stand aside on this thing and let it find a new bottom. I would be expecting that if this support broke, I would be anticipating that the altcoins are basically getting out of favor. They're going out of favor, and they will probably be that way. You know, that type of out of favor season can persist for months and months. So if those supports break, there's no need to be in any hurry to do anything. You want to start accumulating a position in some of these things as they start testing lows, because after something like that, I'd be expecting lows to get tested. And I'd also be expecting Bitcoin to be doing a similar thing if these things are breaking such levels. All right, so that's what you have to watch out for. Otherwise, if you get another higher low, I wouldn't be too excited, because this is not exactly a trend. This is a consolidation. Now, you can argue that it's a higher low of the broader structure, which is bullish, but the problem with that, again, what erases that argument is Bitcoin just came off of all-time highs, this thing should have done better. And all the other coins too that look like this. They should have done better and they haven't done better, which means they're relatively weak. Okay? So just a few points there. I hope that helps, Michelle. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Another long-time listener. Peter, okay, and it is amazing. Hey, Peter, don't give me any ideas. Don't give me any ideas. I'm gonna start charging everyone. Well, you know, I mean, I like to, you know, why do I do this for free? Well, because for one, I'm exposing the brand and all that stuff. So it's sort of like a big commercial if you think about it. Except I'm not pushing you with any type of call to action every 2 seconds. But you know, I also like to help people. I mean, I've been in your position for a long time, and it's nice. It feels good to be able to shed light on things and help people get that perspective and basically see beyond the junk that you're exposed to all day long, because there's really nothing else out there. Okay, so I know it's funny. I notice on a lot of these videos, I occasionally come across like a guy that he may be like a fund manager or something, and he makes a video, and the videos are usually very boring, and they get like no views, right? But the guy's a fund manager. He's managing a lot of money, and he's showing this, he's talking about that, and blah, blah, blah. And it's funny because the real guys here, the guys that actually are talking some sense or know what they're talking, they get no views. But then you get some kid, some 15-year-old boy from his mother's basement, and he's got like 100,000 views, and he's talking about nothing. It just goes to show the quality of the standards of the herd mentality. It just goes to show. And you need to use this information, use it as a guide. That when I see these ridiculous titles, I know when I see Bitcoin billboards in town where I've never seen Bitcoin billboards before, I know we're at a top, because it's just, when things are obvious, people think that opportunities are advertised. And I said a couple of weeks ago, opportunities are not advertised. Good opportunities are secret. They're hidden. No one shares them. Okay? No one shares inside information if they have it. So the agenda of all these people sharing all this great information is they're trying to get you to click on links, whatever, they're selling something, you know, all that stuff. I'm not trying to push you into any coins, right? We're just talking about what the charts say here, and I'm trying to help you see how you can use information that's on your chart, because that's all we have as a retail trader. You have to understand our role as a retail trader is to provide profits for the smart money. Okay, smart money being people that have inside information, smart money being people that have more resources than most people. That's smart money, and they have more opportunities available to them usually. Now they need someone to take the other side of their trade, and that's what the retail trader is for. And the retail trader supplies profits to many in the industry, whether it's a Forex broker. I mean, Forex brokers have been profiting off of retail traders forever, okay, because they're taking the other side of the trade. All types of these industry professionals, these exchanges, the retail trader is what makes them rich, okay? The retail trader also makes the developer who invented the altcoin rich. That is our role. So you need to understand that. And all the information that comes out there is not meant to help us. It's out there to help us spend. Okay? You go look at the Binance platform and look how that platform is made, right? It's news and stimulation and everywhere. It's like a big slot machine. Right? All that stuff. It's to get you to spend. It's to get you to take action, because that's how they make money. That is what the retail trader does. And the retail trader does not know that all of this information that's available to us, all of it, is 99% useless. They don't realize that the market is highly random. Right? It's the same as playing Baccarat and drawing little having a little piece of paper and charting the random outcomes. It's the same thing. So with everyone, they have their stochastic and they have their RSI and they have this and that and this and that. It's random. There's no 80% win rate. It's random. So knowing all that then helps to put it into perspective. So when everyone gets excited about an opportunity and when everyone is going to be a millionaire, most likely it's the opposite, right? And when everyone is depressed and these things are going to zero and these things suck and blah, 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 that's when the opportunity is there, but it's not obvious, okay? I remember, back in the summer or before that, when these altcoins, I mean, most of them were just near zero. They were just complete garbage, right? And no one was talking about anything. And that's, I remember thinking like, man, these things are really cheap. But I didn't do anything about it because I don't have much faith in them to begin with. But that's when these things are hated, think the opposite, okay? And the same goes for stocks. It's the same deal, right? The S&P just made new highs today, right? NASDAQ just made new highs. It's a very vulnerable area for investing, but investors don't know any better. Oh, I'm going to get my Robinhood thing over here, and I'm going to buy some Apple because I like Apple. Right? That's what they're going to do. And they're buying the highs. This is not a good place to invest. If you're a day trade, day trade is one thing. You want to swing trade, I think they're very risky levels. But as far as investing goes, these are horrible levels. Horrible. Especially if the Fed starts changing their tune very soon, which is what I'm anticipating, right? The dollar, and that's what the dollar has been telling us. The dollar in the bond market has been telling us that. Okay, anyway, all right, enough of that rant. I'll talk about that all night. All right, so let me answer some more questions here. Okay, Farhat, okay, no problem. Ramon, hey Ramon, mucho gusto, ¿cómo estás? Could you please comment on euro? Sure. All right, you're gonna pay anyway. You know what, Peter? I'm gonna have to set up like one of those donation things. You ever see those fake gurus with like those donation things? And they get like people are donating them all kinds of money and they're not even giving any value. And then I'm like, man, I got to do that. All right. I mean, nothing wrong with some free money. All right. So euro. Now, euro is inverse of the dollar. Okay. Now, euro has been interesting. Euro got very hammered ever since we had that CPI report and the inflation. All of a sudden they realized, hey, I think we have inflation, right? Because the CPI report finally shows it. So that's where you saw the dollar spike and these things got hammered. Now, let's look at this now. This trend on the euro, this euro for the longest time, let's zoom out a bit, right, to get some perspective. For the longest time, I mean, the euro has been in a bullish trend and the dollar has been selling off, right? It takes months and months and months. Now, the euro more recently, lower high, broke these supports. But the bigger picture structure, okay, which goes back some time, is still bullish. So you're still going into some support levels. Look at this over here. Look at this level, right? The euro just recently broke that. And then look at this. Look where the euro is now. So this is a level of interest for the euro as far as a long, right? I wouldn't short this level, but the structure is not with you. Now let's look at the price action here. Look at the pin bar, okay? Nice bullish pin bar. This would have been great for like a day trade or something. And this three candle pattern is actually a reversal pattern. So this is that I would consider something like that a very aggressive long for the euro because you're still fighting the structure. So what to do here? Well, if you were thinking long, you kind of missed it because the high of the pin bar was the long. If you want to get into this now, your risk is going to have to be at least the size of this candle, which, let's see, it looks kind of big for the euro. What is that? The high of the candle is $1 is 113.74. The low is 113.13. So that's about a good 70 pips. That's pretty wide for the euro, okay? And that's using the single candle. Really, you should be using the pin bar low, which is probably going to add another 50 or 60 pips to it, right? And the thing is, where can this thing run to? Well, this is that's your old support up in there. So if we can draw this little line here, we can draw this box, that's a zone. That's basically just a combination of this old resistance back here, like this area back here, and we're just basically acknowledging it here. right? So you can basically draw yourself a little zone. That's your bearish reversal zone. So you have two ways to go about this. See, something like the euro, I'm very open to shorting. Like Bitcoin, on the other hand, we don't short that. But euro, yeah, I'll short this thing all day long if it gives me the opportunity. Now, so if you were thinking long, well, it's on its way. So you have to decide if you want to take that risk. I mean, it looks like the reward potential is somewhat there, but it's aggressive because you're going against the structure. The more conservative thing to do would be to wait until the euro gets back into this range, which is what? 14.50, 14 half, high 14s, and then look for the reversal, the bearish reversal for a short, for the next leg lower, right? And in that scenario, I would be expecting the dollar to be bouncing off of that 94.50 support that we looked at earlier. Because again, this is inverse. This is a complete inversion of the dollar. So that would make sense with a dollar pull back and bounce. And that dollar trend hasn't changed. So that's why, going for the long it would be counter trend and more aggressive. So I hope that makes sense. Those are the two things I would consider. And in this situation, I would be, since I tend to be more conservative, I would just wait for that resistance area and wait for the sell signal to develop there and then look for the short, because the short has more potential. All right. Now, when it comes to the euro and dollar and all that stuff, yeah, people have to look at economic stuff and blah, blah, blah. I don't pay any attention to that stuff. If the Fed starts with their rate hikes and whatever that the dollar seems to be pricing in, then we will probably see this trend continue. If they change their tune, because I saw a headline that they're looking to get rid of Jerome Powell, they're looking to replace him with someone else. I don't know who the other person is, but that can have an effect on things, because if the other person is more dovish than Powell. I mean, Powell is just a money printer. Like, the guy he just prints money. Just throw money on everything, right? If they get someone else that even does more of that, then we will probably see, the dollar change, right? If we're going to get more of that inflationary type of loose money monetary policy, and that can come with a new Fed chairman, right? But if he's more hawkish, meaning, hey, he's conservative and he's going to start doing what's supposed to be done, being responsible. Because these people that we have now, I don't know. Again, I don't know how the Fed thinks. I don't know what kind of information they look at. I don't pretend to know. But man, it just seems a little irresponsible to me. If the guy is more hawkish, we're going to see that dollar continue to rise. Now, the dollar, again, you have to keep an eye on the dollar, right? Because the dollar is the major thing here. This pin bar, maybe this has something to do with that Fed chairman switcheroo thing. I don't know. But until this trend changes, right, and it has, as you can see, it's got a long way before it changes. We need to start breaking supports, like that 92 support and all that other stuff. Until we do that, I'm going to anticipate that the dollar is going to stay in a bullish trend. Okay, and if that's the case, then euro, you should be looking for shorts in the euro. All right, so I know there's a very long explanation, but I hope you found that helpful. Okay, what are your thoughts on Doge? Oh, here we go. Let's take a look. Haven't looked at that one in a while. Let's take a look. Well, look, Doge, real quick, it's in the same situation as everything else. Now, this is a complete meme coin, complete garbage meme coin. It has no fundamentals, right? It's all pure marketing and hype and Elon Musk tweets, right? That's what drives this thing. So it's not surprising to me that we see this lower high. Not surprising to me at all. Which, again, sign of relative weakness, as with most of these altcoins that we're seeing. It's the same pattern. Now, price is pulled back here a bit. Yeah, we can argue that it's pulled back to a support. Okay, you can argue that. But it's not the range low, just like that other one that we were just looking at, whichever one that was. I can't remember. Was it Stellar Lumens or whatever it was, right? They all look the same. So you want to look at this area right there. And you want to see if price can retest that area, because you don't have a buy signal in here right now. So perhaps you get some more bearish momentum follow through, possibly, and then you look for the reversal. All right, if you're interested in longing this thing. If these supports break, especially this lower support, then I would step aside. And these are certainly not the best choices for inventory. All right, if you want to build inventory, I think it's a better idea to build inventory in something that's less speculative like Bitcoin. I mean, the whole space is speculative, but Bitcoin is a first tier coin. You know, it's got the name recognition, all that other stuff. Ethereum, you know, all the stuff. But Dogecoin is a meme coin, right? Just like SHIB. So these are not good choices for inventory. These are complete gambles. You know, something like this you throw in, like, how much is this thing now? 22 cents. I mean, something like this you throw in $100 and see where it is in 6 months, right? If it goes to zero, who cares? I mean, that's how you trade these things. That's the best way to do it, in my opinion, because you're not really taking a whole lot of risk if you just throw in $100. And you throw in a bunch of them, whatever, because they're meme coins. They're a joke, all right? So I hope that makes sense. But as far as technicals go with these coins, the technicals are going to make the most sense when they start doing something, like they break out, they break a resistance or something like that. Otherwise, everything in between is just complete noise. Can't really make any judgments on this. These are not really, you know, they're not investable assets to begin with. So just a few things, a few points to consider. All right, let me see what else we got here. So that's Dogecoin. Could care less about the Lambo. I just want to visit. Oh yeah, me too. I hear good things about Ireland. All right. Yeah, okay. So Ramon, okay, no problem. Okay, out of 5 open contracts, 4 are in long BTC at the moment. Out of 5, I'm not sure what you mean there. Oh, out of 5 open contracts, 4 are in long at the moment. On Bitcoin, 5 open contracts. Okay, what did you, I don't know, so I'm not sure what you mean. Did you buy at a higher price and you're getting out of this thing now? Is that what you're doing? Because, yeah, if that's the case, one thing that maybe next time, if you're in from a higher price, just, you had this minor support here. See, look at this. I'm just going to make this real big, and then I'm going to wrap this up here in a couple of minutes. But I just want to give you another lesson here. There was you can argue, you could have argued back here that this was a buy signal. Okay, I mean, you had the pin bar, high or low, all that other stuff. The reason why I didn't take this, or I didn't mention this, or whatever, I was not interested, is because I didn't like the location. All right, and I'm just very conservative, and that same rationale causes me to miss moves and people get frustrated. I understand, but I'm not willing to get involved in this, right? And we see this outcome. This would have been stopped out. But my point is this. If you had taken something like this, your risk should have been defined there, okay? In leveraged market. Okay, so I don't fully understand what you have going on there, but my point is, if you bought up in here, or you bought at the bottom, maybe you bought at the bottom and you got out of one, that's a different story. I'm thinking you bought at the top and it's pulling back on you. Oh, so maybe you bought at the low and now it's starting to rally. Okay, so if you have a situation like that, it sounds to me like you're more like a day trade, right? So 5 contracts. Look at the 4-hour chart here, bullish pin bar. You know, this thing, also you have this double bottom formation, right? Off of this larger time frame support. So if that's the case, you're in a decent position as far as a day trade would go. And if you locked one in, great. You have a couple more contracts. You know, you want to see this thing, at least, this thing needs to take out this level here, right? That's your old support, new resistance. You have the pin bar and you have the broader support. So there's a good chance it does that. If it can, you're looking for something like this, right? That would be, in this area here would also be good. Those would be good profit targets if you can get something like that. But when it's a day trade, you know, I would just suggest that you don't have warped expectations. Don't think that Bitcoin's going back to 67K, because it may fool around a lot first before it does that. You're not on that time frame. You understand? Because you're in that trade very early. The swing trade that we would be taking, it's way too early for that because the candle has not closed. And it's not exactly, this is not a buying candle. The momentum is still working against you. Okay? So for a day trade, it's fine. But not for a swing trade. Risk is way too high. Momentum is not favorable. Okay? So anyway, thanks for mentioning. Talked a little bit about a smaller time frame there. All right, everyone. So here's the thing. We went over everything. I guess I don't have any other questions. I see no one's asked about stocks. That's good because the stock market's at all-time highs. Not a good time to be asking about stocks. So I see my crowd is much more informed than the average, what do you call it, Robinhood investor. I'm sure some people have Robinhood here. I'm not picking on you if you have a Robinhood account, but the typical Robinhood investor has no clue. They're mindless and they're just reacting to things. That's just the way it is. And we need those people. Otherwise, no one will take the other side of your trade when you have a real trade. All right, anyway. Okay, cool. So like I said, just keep your eye on, we're at support levels. We looked at all these altcoins. We are at support levels. Bitcoin's at a support level. And we need to see that confirmation. If it comes, then there will be something to do. If it doesn't come, that means it's breaking supports and you want to step aside. Again, this game of timing is about letting the market tell you what to do, not you asserting yourself onto the market, okay? And yeah, it could be very frustrating because you may have the right idea. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, oh yeah, this is support, it should be along here, right? And then the candle reverses real hard and never buy it, and next thing you know, it's up blah blah blah, and you missed it, and the market never really gave you that chance, right? Or you had to be super aggressive. So that's really like a personality trait on how you want to handle that. I know that from being super aggressive, you're going to get stopped out more. That's just the way it is. So anyway, just a few things to consider there. Wait for these things because patience really pays. And also the other thing I just want to leave you with is just know the type of trade you're getting into, right? If that's a day trade you're dealing with, know that. Know what your reasonable proportions are. Know your risk, know your reward. It's going to be smaller than a swing trade. Know that. Because if you let that get out of hand and you start mixing those time frames, what you're going to do is you're going to take large risks and you're going to take small rewards. And that leads to a lot of problems, as you can tell. Okay, so just a few things to just think about over the next few days. All right, so with that, I'm going to, just mention, hey, if you want to check out Greenbridge and all that stuff, you could just click on the show more thing, and there's a link to our website. We have a chat room. Andrew puts a few trades a week and all that kind of stuff and whatever, so you could check that out. We share perspective and things like that and some trade ideas and all that stuff there. All right, so otherwise, I will be streaming again on Monday. I'm hoping to get TradingView going again. If I can get that thing going, I think I have it fixed, but I'm not sure. We'll find out. Anyway, so everyone, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world, and thank you very much for watching.